recovers at their pace. And grief is not such a straightforward, straight line that we start here and we end here. Grief can be roundabout. Grief is gray, and people have to make meaning of that experience. So it's most important, I always say, to be with them where they are. And normally people take some time. Some people take a few months, some people take little later. If you as a friend or a loved one find it very difficult to keep listening, it is okay to gently tell that person, I'm finding it difficult and I'm feeling overwhelmed. So I would recommend that you take therapeutic support, which is using a counselor or a psychotherapist or even a social worker, mental health social worker.
Okay. So that brings me to my next question. How how do you support a friend or a family member who is in distress? Because right now, a lot of people, they come to friends, they come to family members, they go on the internet, how to deal with stress and anxiety. But we are in the midst of a pandemic. Nobody has answers. One is as clueless as the other. So, in such a situation, what is the best way to support someone who needs your help?
I think the first step when someone needs help is to listen to them. When I say listen, there is a difference between listening and hear. Yeah, there's a difference between listening and hearing. Okay, listening means to be fully present, and anger, then it's sadness, then there is guilt, and then there is acceptance. It doesn't mean that they have to go in that order. They can skip and go back and forth, but you have to help them go through those stages, because that is how they finally recover. Once they've accepted, then they're able to move on. In this time, during this time, Sam, I'd like you to know, a lot of people suffer from a particular type of guilt, and it's called survivor's guilt. If a parent has lost their young one, the question they'll ask is, why was it not me and why them? Or if they're frontline workers, they'll repeatedly ask themselves, could I have done something more? Did I do something less? Or it can be, they will keep thinking, where did I miss out? Why didn't...
So, Anna, I also see a lot of anger. Um, it's There's so much anger filling my social media pages. It's I don't know. Is this a way to show pain and grief, that it comes out as anger? There's a need to blame someone for what's happening. Uh, how would you explain this extreme anger that people are feeling and expressing?
I think this extreme anger and especially on society. One is being anxious because of the situation, and now it's moving into clinical, and it's a signal for such people and their loved ones to actually guide them and direct them to take clinical support.
And I just also want you to say that it's okay to seek clinical support. Uh, Please, when I mentioned to people, I have a counselor. I'm undergoing counseling. People are like, "What? What do you mean? Like, how can you not solve this on your own? Be strong. It's nothing. It will go away on its own." So, for this reason, there are so many people who don't take that next step when they really, really need it. Uh, so, how should we as a society destigmatize mental health?
I think the first is what you actually did, because I think you are a leader in your own rights. You have followers, and when you expose your vulnerability it's the first thing. When you name it that you've taken support, you're actually telling the world that you're human, and therefore when you're human, you're vulnerable. So I think the first step is that. The second step is actually in destigmatizing, is that people actually don't take therapeutic support because they're mentally ill. It's not because they're mentally ill. They're taking therapeutic support or counseling support because they want how to know how to manage certain life issues more effectively. That's the reality. And the third part, which I think which is very important, is the language that we use when we are either thinking about the stigma, which is the language we use and how we label ourselves, or the language that we use when we are talking to people, where we uh, normalize taking support. And I give you a simple example. If you actually, you of course have shared, and I'm very, very proud of you. If you listen to heard Michelle Obama, she talks about how when she became the first lady, there was a lot of trolling about her not, being who she was, they expected. And she said how they took support. And then she also talks about how, uh, both of Barack Obama and she actually took additional therapeutic support during that time when he was the president, because there was so much pressure on their marriage. These are very natural things that happen to all of us. The more we speak, the more we normalize life. At this point, I think it's important to say that, I've had questions, and I'm sure your followers have young children in the house, questions about what do you tell children now?
Exactly.
Actually, actually, from the time a child is about 3 to 4 years old, they do know and understand age appropriately about death. And now there is a crisis. So I think it's important to talk to little children, give them information according to their age so that they can cope. Otherwise, you're telling them everything is okay, but they are experiencing their parents as anxious, and that makes them more confused. So
So
it's
you
okay.
young parents to try and make children understand the situation and not hide them from it. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Yes. Understand according to their age, what we call age appropriate information.
Okay, that's interesting. So I think we're at the end, and I know it's very difficult right now to see the silver lining or a positive takeaway from this pandemic. But we as human beings need to be optimistic. We need that hope, a hope that the future is going to be better and brighter. So for you, what would be the one positive takeaway from all of this?
I think, yes, we've been in it's a disaster. It's been a national crisis. But I think what I see very positive is the solidarity, the courage, and the selflessness that all the citizens have come together, and the kind of contributions, whether it is, people volunteering, or whether it's the frontline workers, whatever said, there's been a coming together. And I look at that as very positive, that while there is collective pain, solidarity.
Lost you again.
I said,
Yes.
I believe that while there's collective pain,